Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be showing from the FIDE World Blitz Championship, and I'm sure you guys would agree that it would be a crime against chess to start with any game other than this one. It is Shakhriyar Mamedyarov versus Aydin Suleymanli, both of them from Azerbaijan. Suleymanli from Baku, much like the great players who came from there, like Kasparov or Rajabov. And it's really like they wanted to prove something this game. This game is like if we were transported back into the Morphy era, but before Morphy played against an opponent, they went for a night of drinks. And by drinks I mean like a dozen. So let's check it out, and tell me what do you think about this. Sorry if I show too many lines, but this is such a complicated game that even for a 3-minute blitz game, okay, plus 2 seconds increment, I will have to deviate a little bit. So let's check it out. And also an update on Alireza in the candidates tournament. It would seem that Alireza has successfully qualified for the candidates tournament. He defeated everyone in the Rowan Open with 7 out of 7, and even if they do not rate the tournament in chart where Alireza played against 3 opponents a set of 2 games, he will still have enough rating points to overtake Wesley. So now it seems that unless they don't rate that tournament by the end of December, Alireza is qualifying for the candidates tournament. But I will keep you guys updated. Now let's check out this game. Shakhriyar has the white pieces and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6 and now bishop to g5. He goes for the Trompovsky attack. d5, a very principled reply, and now knight to d2. He wants an immediate support for e4. And okay, pawn to c5, challenging the d4 pawn, and Mamedyarov captures. D captures on c5. We have pawn to e6 and now pawn to e4, striking in the center, and bishop captures on c5. Just a natural developing move, and it's all the better if it comes with a capture and you want a castle king set. But here comes pawn to e5, sort of winning the knight because the queen here would hang if you move the knight. However, queen to b6, putting pressure on the f2 pawn. So what did Shakhriyar have in mind? Well, e captures on f6. He invites bishop captures on f2, and he doesn't mind putting his king on e2. So bishop captures on f2 with check, king to e2, and now what is black to play here? It's a really a tricky position. Of course, you cannot go queen to e3 checkmate as the bishop here is stopping that, but you can play bishop captures on g1. And now you'd probably expect something like f captures on g7. I mean, what else? But that wouldn't really be best. If f captures on g7, you allow queen to f2 check, and then after king to d3, queen to d4 check, and after king e2, queen e5 check, eliminating the bishop here. King f3, or even better, queen captures on g7, and now after rook captures on g1, queen captures on g5, and your king is on f3, you're down a pawn. I mean, that's no way to play chess. So instead, rook captures on g1 was played, and now queen captures on g1. And now you'd think, okay, surely now f captures on g7 will be played by Shakhriyar. But no, Shakhriyar plays knight to e4, and this is now something that we would see in a Morphy game, because if the knight is captured, of course, just f captures on g7 threatens the rook and checkmate on d8, so of course that cannot be done. However, rook to g8 can be played, or something like g6. Aydin goes for rook to g8, and now f captures on g7. Okay, still the knight cannot be captured. It would be a mate in 1 with queen to d8. So rook captures on g7, and now queen to d2. Just developing the queen, nothing weird happening here. And the way to play this with black and 3+2 blitz game, it's not easy to realize this, is knight to c6. That's how you should play it. And then after knight f6, then you play king to e7, and only after something like rook to d1, now you play pawn to h6, and you try to chase away the bishop, as the knight does not have all that many great discoveries. However, in the game, Aydin played h6 right away, and now comes queen to c3. So what is this? You're threatening the rook on g7, you're threatening some checks on f6, and you're also threatening queen captures on c8. And again, how do you play this? You have to play knight to c6. This is the only way to do it. And then point is, again, after knight f6 check, king to d8 and queen to a3, going after queen to f8 with check. You're going to play king to c7, and now after bishop to f4 with check, you might be able to hold this off with something like e5, but still, it's very unlikely. Like knight captures, the king will have to come to d7. You cannot go to b8, otherwise queen to d6 is checkmate. So you have to go back, king d7, and now after bishop to g3, again queen to f8 is coming, so you're going to have to give up the rook here. And after queen captures, something like queen to c5, and well, c3 just can be played, so you don't give up the c2 pawn. Rook is coming to d1, so you cannot capture the knight. I'm just showing you what a rich position this is. Now that someone should have played this, because it's a 3+2 blitz game. But in the game, h captures and g5 was played, which is even stronger a reply recommended by the engine, but a much trickier one. Queen captures on c8 with check, king to e7, and now knight back to f2. Now Shakhriyar traps the queen on g1, and while you could capture on h2, this would give white additional time for something like queen captures on b7, followed by queen captures on a8. So here, Suleymanli, as he is from Baku, Azerbaijan, says you are not the only one who can play beautiful chess, goes knight to c6, and he sacrifices the rook on a8. He wants to get that knight to d4 with check quickly to be able to capture on f2 with the queen. But Shakhriyar says, all right, I will capture it, but not right away. I'm going to play queen captures on b7, king to d6, and now queen captures on a8. And now how is he escaping? Knight to d4 with check, king to e3, and now comes knight to f5 with check. We have king to e2, and now knight to d4 with check. And now you have to figure out a game plan here. It's not easy to spot how to win this with white. It is very much winning, but I will give you a second just to figure out how to go about this position, because it's really, really important that you solve this. You will feel much better and you will learn a lot. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the only winning plan for Shakhriyar while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that the c2 pawn is definitely in our way. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is king back to d3 or e3, but first we have to play king to e1. And only now after knight captures on c2 check, now you play king to e2. And you don't have time to capture the knight, the rook on a1, because queen to f8 check also picks up the rook on g7. So now you'll try knight to d4, but now king to d3. You give up the knight here, and after queen captures on f2, now queen to b8 with check, and after king to e7, now just a nice queen captures on a7 with check, king to d6, and you pick up the knight here, and that's it. You're just up a full piece. Of course, the position is completely winning for white. However, here in the game, king to d3 was played right away, and this is now much different. Queen captures on f2, but there is no c pawn for you to deliver to deliver a check, and that was the key idea. If the king went to the c file, you're going to be able to go king to c1 with check. But now in this line, after queen to b8 with check, king to c6 can be played. You don't have to go here and allow this check that allowed the winning of the knight. Now the king is perfectly safe on c6. That's why it was crucial to give up the c2 pawn. Rook to c1 now, and now queen to f5 with check. This game is just crazy, but you can see that Suleymanli playing his moves with basically 0 seconds on the clock. He's playing an increment, well, not 0, 10 seconds, and he has to play knight to f5. And this now looks like a position that you do not want to really play with white. I mean, it's still playable, but you know, something like c4. But it's very, very hard. I mean, queen to d4 check is coming, looks ugly. However, in the game, queen to f5 check was played. Now, Aydin sacrifices more material. He wants to checkmate Mamedyarov's king with some pawn pushes in the center. And there's not much else. King captures on d4 was played. Queen to e4 with check, king to c3, and now queen to e3 with check. The problem with a pawn push is that after you move the king and after something like queen d5, there's bishop to c4. There's no way to continue the attack. So after king c3, queen to e3 check was played, but now bishop to d3. And Aydin is out of moves here. D4 with check, king to B3. Now queen captures on C1. He does win the exchange, but now comes bishop to E4 with check, king to D7, and now queen captures on A7 with check, king to E8, and now bishop to C6. I'm just gonna deviate a little bit here because it's possible to win the rook by force, and if black decides not to give up the rook, he actually gets checkmated by force. The idea is queen b8 check, and after king d7, now you play queen to a7 check, and after king to 8, now queen to a4 with check, king to f8, and now queen to b4 with check. And now you cannot go here as the bishop covers h7, and you'll get checkmated with queen to b8, so you have to go back. But now bishop to c6 check is much different, as the king has to go into the center. So king d8, queen to d6 check, and now it's just a very nice checkmate. So black will have to choose between the rook and the checkmate. And similar thing happened here. Bishop to c6 check was played, king to f8, now queen to b8 with check, king to e7, and now queen to e8 with check. King to f6 still holds a draw. I mean, incredible, but it does. King to f6, and it was played with queen to d8 with check, and now king to g6. Here king to e5 defending the pawn is the way to go, but king to g6 was played, and now queen captures on d4. And again, Shakhriyar has winning chances as he has 3 connected pass pawns here, even though he is down the exchange. So pawn to f5 was played, now queen to e5. We have rook to e7 defending the pawn here, now pawn to a4. And now it's a completely different character of the game. Now white is just better and pushing for the win. We have queen to d2, and now pawn to a5. But still, you can see that Mamedyarov much better on time, 55 seconds. Suleymanli, 4 seconds, always playing on increment. Queen to d8, bringing the queen to help out with the defense, and now king to a2. We have queen to c8, and now bishop to a4. We have rook to c7, now trying to put some pressure on the c file, but it doesn't matter, just pawn to b4. The pawn is nicely defended. Rook to c4, and now queen to b2. Just defending everything here, and now queen to a6. Queen to b2 is actually not the most precise move. You can, in fact, you can play rook c3 and queen to c4 next, and that stops the advancement of the pawns. If you push this pawn, then just queen captures it, and if you push this pawn, then the bishop is lost. So this would be a problem for Shakhriyar, but queen to a6 was played, now king to a3, and now rook to e4. We have bishop to b3, queen to b5, sort of blockading all the pawns, but now queen to c3. We have pawn to f4. Aydin also pushes his pawns, trying to create a pass pawn. Bishop to a4 now, chasing away the queen. We have queen to a6 and queen to c5. Rook to e3 with check, bishop to b3, and now pawn to e5 even. As the e-pawn is the pass pawn. We have king to b2, king to h5, queen to b6, now offering a queen trade, and just queen to c8. Trying to put some pressure on the position, but there's really no hope anymore. Queen to c5 was played. If you trade queens, of course, the position is winning for white. And now queen to f5. We have pawn to a6, rook to e1, and now a7, preparing to bring a queen into the game. And here queen to g4 was played, but I think also it was in this position that Aydin Suleymanli lost on time. So, you know, the point went to Shakhriyar. But there's even a really awesome checkmate here that... I could ask you to find, but I'm not going to. It's a blitz game, and I've already asked you to pause the video. But there's bishop to f7 check, king h4, queen f2 check, and once the queen blocks, okay, you could capture, of course, everything is winning, but the fastest way is a8 queen with queen to h8. And now after you give up this queen, you deliver a check, king to g4, and now queen to h3, or bishop to e6 will be checkmate. So really an outstanding game. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen something like this, and bear in mind, this is a World Chess Championship, a Blitz World Chess Championship, but still a World Chess Championship, and, you know, it takes a Mamedyarov to go for something like this, but Aydin Suleymanli rose up to the challenge. He also sacrificed everything he could. He sacrificed the rook on a8, that knight on d4, like... absolute madness. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will show you the standings after 11 rounds of Blitz have been played. So these are the standings. There's actually a 7-way tie for first place. Danil Dubov, Vladislav Artemiev, Magnus Carlsen, Yanni Pomnishi, Maxim Vashilograd, Nihal Sarin, Arjun Ergaisi, and Alexander Ryazantsev, all on the 9 points. And with 8.5 following Savan Syugirov, Amin Tabatabai, Volodar Murzin, he was incredible in Rapid and in Blitz, Alexander Shimonov, and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. So not just playing incredible chess like this, but also, trailing by half a point for, towards the leaders. And we have Young Shistov Duda, Denis Makinov, and a lot of other people with 8 points and lower. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have a game that you would really love to see, do use hashtag suggestion, and I will try to cover it. But there's so many games that are being played. Of course, it's impossible for me to show most of them. Really hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see what tomorrow happens. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, Shakhriyar and Aydin, for providing the world with this masterpiece. I enjoyed it immensely. I would like to thank Isaac Davis, Martin Georg Paparik, Carlos Rudy, Robert Farnsworth, and Timothy Rosen for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly covering the World Blitz Championship. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.